All right, imagine this. You're a new MBA grad, and you've just landed a huge role managing a major portfolio. First day, two consultants walk into your office, and they're pitching two completely different, totally competing investment philosophies. Your first big decision? Which one do you choose?
Both of their pitches really boil down to this one single question. Is your number one goal to beat the market, to outperform the S&P 500? Or is your goal to actually fund a specific life with all of its real-world needs and dreams and everything else? Today, we're going to break down these two philosophies.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll meet our two consultants and their competing ideas. Then, we'll dig into how each of them defines success and, this is a big one, how they think about risk. After that, we'll see how they'd actually structure your portfolio, we'll reveal the modern hybrid approach that brings them both together, and finally, we're going to arm you with an interview prep kit so you can absolutely nail these concepts.
So first up, let's meet the two consultants who are pitching you their worldviews. You can kind of think of this as the two major parties in the world of investment strategy. So on your left, you've got the market competitor. This person lives and breathes the market. They're all about alpha and tracking error. Their whole world is relative. Did we beat our benchmark? This is benchmark-based investing, or BBI for short. And on your right, you have the financial architect. Now, they're not even looking at the market. They're looking at you, your life, your goals, retirement, buying a house, sending kids to college. This is goal-based investing, or GBI. Now, this fundamental split in philosophy means they have completely different definitions of what it even means to win at investing. It's pretty wild. For our market competitor, winning is all about generating alpha. And alpha is just a fancy word for the extra return you get compared to a market index. So if the S&P 500 is up 10% and your portfolio is up 12%, you've generated 2% alpha. Simple. You won. It's a competitive sport, and the market index is the team you have to beat. But here's the catch with that approach. I mean, beating the market feels great, right? But that victory, it tells you almost nothing about whether you can actually afford the life you want to live. And the research here puts it perfectly. Comparison against traditional market indices lends little insight into whether an individual is on track to reach his or her financial objectives. And that brings us right over to the financial architect. Their definition of success is something called the success probability target. This isn't about beating anyone. It's about answering one simple but incredibly powerful question. What is the percentage chance that we will have the money we need when we need it for the goal we've set? This table just lays it all out, crystal clear. Look at the primary objective. The competitor wants to maximize that relative return, while the architect wants to hit a goal's success probability. And it all flows from their core beliefs. One is rooted in modern portfolio theory, the other in behavioral finance. And so, at the end of the day, they're asking completely different questions. Did we beat the market versus are we on track for our goals? So, naturally, this difference bleeds right into how they think about risk. I mean, if they can't even agree on how to win, they are definitely not going to agree on how you can lose. For the market competitor, risk is all about tracking error. This is a statistical metric that, in simple terms, just measures how much your portfolio zigs when the market zags. In this worldview, risk is basically being too different from the herd. Too much deviation, even good deviation, is seen as unpredictable and therefore risky. And here's the really crucial kind of counterintuitive part. Tracking error doesn't care if you're winning or losing. A manager who consistently beats the market by exactly 3% every single year has a tracking error of 0. And so does a manager who consistently loses to the market by 3%. It only measures the volatility of the difference, not whether the outcome was actually any good. The financial architect just cuts through all that noise. For them, risk is something called goal shortfall probability. It's just the raw, real-world danger that you will fail to meet your most important goals. See, risk isn't some abstract statistic. It's the tangible, personal chance that you won't be able to retire or you won't be able to pay for college. And this table just shows that divergence perfectly. For the BBI camp, risk is the volatility of your returns, measured by tracking error. For the GBI camp, risk is failing to meet your goals, measured by goal shortfall probability. One is all about how bumpy the ride is, the other is about whether you actually get to your destination. Okay, so these clashing philosophies on success and risk, they have a direct impact on how these two consultants would actually go about organizing your money. The market competitor, who follows traditional modern portfolio theory, builds one big portfolio. Everything gets thrown into a single pot. Your retirement money, the down payment for a house, that vacation fund. That one big pot is then mixed up according to a strategic asset allocation designed to get the most return for a certain level of volatility.
But the financial architect, they take a totally different approach. They use a concept from behavioral finance called mental accounting, and they build a pyramid of separate portfolios. The foundation, the base of the pyramid, is for your essential needs, the stuff you absolutely cannot live without. This bucket is invested very conservatively. Then the middle tier is for your lifestyle wants. And right at the top, the peak, are your legacy aspirations. Each goal gets its own dedicated, customized strategy.
So, you've heard from both consultants. You have the competitor who's obsessed with the market and the architect who's obsessed with your life. So, which one do you hire? Well, the answer might surprise you. The secret of sophisticated modern wealth management isn't about picking a side at all. It's about integrating both philosophies. You hire both of them, and you make them work together.
So here's how this integrated model works. And it's actually pretty brilliant. You let the financial architect, the GBI approach, design the big picture strategy. They build your pyramid of goals, they define the what and the why. Then you bring in the market competitor, the BBI expert, to execute the tactics. They find the most efficient tools to fill each of those buckets. So for your essential needs bucket, you'll use their low-cost, benchmark-hugging index funds. But for your legacy bucket at the top of the pyramid, you unleash them to go hunt for alpha with active, higher-risk strategies. GBI provides the client-centric why, and BBI provides the market-efficient how.
Okay, so the crucial thing here is knowing how to talk about all this, especially if you're interviewing for a role in wealth management. So let's wrap this up with a toolkit that's going to help you articulate these concepts with total confidence. Here are the 3 things you absolutely have to remember. Number 1, define success first. Are we trying to beat a benchmark, or are we trying to fund a liability? Number 2, risk is personal. Is it just statistical volatility, or is it the real-world chance of failure? And number 3, the hybrid model wins. The best practice is to use GBI for that client-focused structure and BBI for the accountable, efficient execution. And you can bet you're going to get asked questions like these. First, how would you explain the difference to a client? Easy. Use the analogy we started with, the market competitor versus the financial architect. Second, they'll hit you with a scenario. The portfolio is down with the market. How do you respond? Well, using GBI, you shift the conversation away from the market's return and toward the goal's funding status. You'd say something like, yes, the market is down, but our plan's probability of success for your retirement is still sitting strong at 95%. And finally, they'll ask about tracking error. The key is to know its specific role. It's essential for evaluating a manager's skill, but it is the absolute wrong tool for measuring a person's progress toward their life goals. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. If you've only ever judged your own investment success by whether or not you beat the S&P 500, just take a minute and ask yourself, what real-world personal risks, the chances of not being able to fund your actual life, might you be completely overlooking?